Why is the gender-neutral version of Latin or Latina called latinx instead of just saying they are Latin? A lot of my friends growing up were from Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, etc. I think every single one of them thought latinx was the stupidest thing ever. Because it's not official. It was made up by English speakers trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It's actually highly unpopular with the people it's supposed to represent. Nobody says latinx. Latinx is pretty widely reviled by the global Latino community. Latin is more acceptable since it's pronounceable in Spanish and makes sense grammatically as opposed to Latin, which makes sense in English and is a better alternative than latinx. My best guess why some English speakers felt the need to adopt latinx instead of just using Latin or Latin American is because they were more concerned with drawing attention to trans and non-binary identities than they were with simply using gender-neutral language. Edit. Source: my wife is Colombian and our friend group is heavy on Central Americans, also that Pew Research study. I use Latin. That isn't going to change. I've talked to many Latin folks and not a single one thought X was doing anyone any favors. Because they have a gendered language and it would just make things more confusing is my guess. Also, no latinx people even like that. It's a made-up word that was obviously created by an English speaker who doesn't understand how X sounds in Spanish, and legitimately everyone I've met who speaks Spanish hates the word. Do your part. Call it latinx until it's absurdified into the depths from whence it came. Latinx might as well be a slur. We don't like it. Latin's the better version, and the one I hear used more often. Latino is kinda already gender-neutral depending on who you're referring to. No one is saying latinx outside of random white people on the internet. It doesn't exist in the languages they're forcing it into. Most Latin people hate the term anyway. Same reason folks exists. Stupidity. Why? Because people are stupid. It's not. Please don't use it sounds dumb as hell to actual Latinos. It's not. Most people in my circle just use Latin if we need to refer to our and by friends. Latinx is basically a slur at this point. The only time I ever see latinx being used it's to intentionally bait people. It's just white liberals being racist, but on accident. In Brazilian, I've only seen latinx being used ironically. Its pronunciation is weird. Could be latinx, l.ti.nks, l.ti.n. Sounds silly. Latin sounds better. The term latinx came about from a gay Latin artist living in New York in the 80s, who wrote out Latino then crossed out the O with an X, now making it say Latin. This was an artistic expression of how Latino is markedly masculine but considered gender-neutral in the language to refer to mixed-sex groups of people. Him being a gay man felt excluded from this masculinity and crossed out the O to make the word Latin. This meaning got lost in the sauce when a certain group on the internet came across it, who now demand everyone say latinx to be gender-neutral instead of, well, Latin. Hope this helped. TLDR, the internet contains as much education as you're willing to learn, but no teacher to guide if someone wildly misinterprets something. Misinformation spreads fast and can even tip out into real life if it's marketed without pushback.